Live from WTOC, the Southeast news leader. The News Now starts on WTOC Plus.
Well, we start with some breaking national news this afternoon here on WTOC Plus as the FBI has just released pictures of the suspects in the Nancy Guthrie kidnapping. I'm going to pull these up right now. These were just posted to X by FBI Director Kash Patel. In his post, he says, new images in the search for Nancy Guthrie. Over the last 8 days, the FBI and Pima County Sheriff's Department have been working closely with private sector partners to continue to recover any images or video footage from Nancy Guthrie's home that may have been lost, corrupted, or inaccessible due to a variety of factors, including the removal of recording devices. The video was recovered from residual data located in back-end systems. Went on to say, working with our partners, as of this morning, law enforcement has uncovered these previously inaccessible new images showing an armed individual appearing to have tampered with the camera at Nancy Guthrie's front door the morning of her disappearance. Went on to say that anyone with information should contact the FBI at 1-800-CALL-FBI. We're flipping through those pictures right now. You can see a man with gloves, or a person with gloves on, and what appears to possibly be a ski mask, holding something in front of the camera in one of the pictures, wearing a jacket. Here's probably the clearest picture of that individual. This is from a Nest doorbell camera right outside the home of Nancy Guthrie. Again, this was posted by the FBI Director Kash Patel less than 10 minutes ago from the start of the show. So just a few more looks at these pictures. Major development in this ongoing national news is the search for Nancy Guthrie now enters day 9. And as we see those pictures, we should still know that there is still no suspect or proof of life with the disappearance of Nancy Guthrie, the 84-year-old who disappeared from her Tucson home over a week ago now. Her daughter, Savannah Guthrie, posted another plea on Monday, calling it her family's hour of desperation. An apparent second deadline for a ransom note has come and gone. Jonathan Viglotti is in Tucson with the latest.
We believe our mom is still out there.
Savannah Guthrie is now calling on the public for help as the search for her 84-year-old mother, Nancy, stretches into its second week.
If you see anything, if you hear anything, if there's anything at all that seems strange to you, that you report to law enforcement. We are at an hour of desperation, and we need your help.
Her plea posted several hours before the captor's second deadline from an alleged ransom note sent to news outlets last week. Kyle Vowinkle is a former FBI hostage negotiator.
It seems to me that the communications may have come to a halt, or maybe they made a decision not to send the money.
The FBI says it is not aware of any continued communication between the family and suspected kidnappers, or if the ransom note is credible. Over the weekend, Guthrie posted a message saying she and her siblings would pay the ransom, despite receiving no evidence of proof of life.
We beg you now to return our mother to us so that we can celebrate with her, and we will pay.
On Sunday, investigators searched what appeared to be a septic tank on Nancy Guthrie's property. They're also zeroing in on a critical 41-minute window during which her home doorbell camera and pacemaker app were disconnected the night she disappeared.
What stands out to you specifically regarding the timeline that's been presented by the FBI?
So 40 minutes being engaging in criminal activity is a lifetime. So the fact that they were there that long implies to me that they're very comfortable in the area.
And the sheriff in a statement yesterday said they are now expanding their search. Investigators are expected back here to the home later on today. The FBI has a 24-hour command post, this as they continue to call on the public for help. Jonathan Vigliotti, CBS News, Tucson, Arizona.
Of course, this is something we will continue to follow here at WTOC. I should also note, I apologize, I misspoke earlier. This is the 10th day in the search for Nancy Guthrie. Well, we are going to continue with our top stories of the day here on WTOC Plus, as we have a major update in the push to bring a controversial nickel refinery to Bryan County. This morning, the county's development authority voted to cut off talks with the company Westwind Elements. The meeting started at 8 o'clock this morning, and despite the early hour, the room was almost overflowing with Richmond Hill residents, and the result of the meeting was that unanimous vote by the DABC to end discussions with Westwind Elements. Bryan County Attorney Aaron Kapler first made a presentation to the board, outlining the board's legal authority over the project and what the public input process would have to look like in order for the board to issue bonds. Westwind Elements has already drafted paperwork for the Development Authority of Bryan County to issue $230 million worth of taxpayer-funded bonds. However, after weeks of intense public backlash, board member Gene Wallace, who's also on the Bryan County Board of Commissioners, introduced the motion to rescind any incentives, offers, proposals, and requests related to bonds with Westwind, and to notify Westwind and the Georgia Department of Community Affairs of the board's decision. That motion, again, passed unanimously.
No amount of money that this project will generate is worth that. You know, I hear things like this project is safe. Yeah, it is safe until they are. And then it's too damn late.
Over a dozen residents also spoke out against the project in the public comment portion of the meeting, many of them thanking the board for their decision. Not one person spoke in favor of Westwind Elements during that meeting this morning. Our Shay Schrader was there. She'll have plenty more coverage on this ongoing story throughout this afternoon on WTOC. Turning now to the Crime Watch, the Chatham County Police Department is investigating after a woman lost more than $76,000 due to scammers. According to CCPD, the victim got a phone call on Friday from someone she didn't know who said that her bank account had been compromised and that she needed to withdraw all of her money immediately. Police said the victim then withdrew $32,000 from a Truist Bank branch on Wilmington Island and handed the cash to someone she had never met before in the parking lot. She then drove to a bank branch on Duren Avenue, withdrew $34,000, and gave the cash to a second person she did not know in the parking lot, according to CCPD. The woman then traveled to a third bank, the branch on Mall Boulevard, withdrew $10,000 and handed the cash to a third person she didn't know in the parking lot. In total, she lost $76,500 to scammers. I apologize, there's a typo right there in that bottom line. $76,500 lost to scammers. CCPD says they receive almost weekly reports of scams. To avoid being scammed, your best defense is to be skeptical of anyone who contacts you and says there is an issue involving your finances. They say don't act or give any money or information until you have independently verified the claims. Never give in to pressure, threats, or coercion. And if you have been scammed, you should report it to police and your financial institution as soon as possible. Well, this is Justin to our newsroom. One inmate is dead following altercation at Smith State Prison. The Georgia Department of Corrections have confirmed that to WTOC this afternoon. Officials say Nicholas Schaefer, who was serving 20 years for kidnapping out of Newton County, died after an altercation with another inmate on February 8th, 2 days ago. GDOC officials say the body has been turned over to the county coroner and will be taken to the GBI crime lab. This death is being investigated as a homicide. Well, the South Carolina Supreme Court is set to hear oral arguments tomorrow in the high-profile appeal of convicted murderer Alec Murdaugh. The disgraced attorney is serving 2 life sentences for the June 2021 killings of his wife Maggie and son Paul. His attorneys claim he did not receive a fair trial, arguing the verdict should be thrown out because jurors were improperly influenced by the now former clerk of court, Becky Hill. In a 2024 hearing, a judge determined that although Hill made inappropriate statements to jurors, her comments did not lead to his conviction. Murdaugh's attorneys say this is the wrong legal standard.
The standard is if an elected official, if a state actor, that would be her, says things to a juror or jurors in an effort to convince them to vote a certain way, that's all that's required.
Becky Hill resigned from her position as clerk of court and pleaded guilty to perjuring herself during that 2024 hearing. Murdaugh's lawyers are set to appear before the state Supreme Court tomorrow. Turning now to state news. Right now, parents are pushing state lawmakers to pass what they feel is meaningful gun reform.
Gun safety is not gun control. Gun safety is gun safety.
Dozens of parents and students packed the state capitol, urging support for a passage of a bill that bans switches. The devices can turn a handgun into a rapid-fire weapon. Lawmakers are divided on the bill. Some Republicans argue the problem isn't access to guns, it's mental health.
When it comes to what's going on with mental health, I think that's the key to it. The gun's not the enemy.
Democrats told parents they will take their messages into committee discussions. Staying in state news, there was a very scary moment on a busy street in suburban Atlanta. A small plane got into trouble in the air and suddenly had to land between cars, hitting several of them. As Chris Van Cleveland reports, incredibly, nobody was killed.
Ooh, what? Hey, are you seeing this? Come here, Bobby. A plane just crashed on the road.
Dramatic video showing the moment this small plane is forced to use a busy road in Gainesville, Georgia as an emergency runway, colliding with several cars as the pilot tried to land, frantically warning air traffic controllers he was in trouble.
Mayday, mayday, mayday. We're not going to make it. Please tell my wife, Molly, I love her, and my parents. I love them so much.
But they did make it. Everyone survived despite the damage to the plane and at least 3 cars north of Atlanta.
We lost our engine taking off out of Gainesville and tried to glide back, did everything by the book, but realized we weren't going to make it back with how far out we were. So came down the road.
A dramatic end during the lunch hour to a flight that started about 90 minutes earlier in Tennessee. The FAA says the pilot reported engine issues. The agency is investigating. First responders at the scene reported only minor injuries. Chris Van Cleve, CBS News.
Back here on the coast, homeowners and business owners may have to pay a new fire service fee in Statesboro. City leaders said last night that the new fee will charge residents and businesses on a monthly basis to help fund the fire department. Total fees are based on land usage and building size. City officials hope it helps with a $4 million funding gap from expansion and rising costs. The proposal comes after Statesboro Fire and Bullitt County Fire ended an agreement in July last year.
We've been working on this project for probably about a year and a half almost, but the city had a funding gap, and they were trying to look at innovative ways to make up that gap. So one of them was to raise taxes to generate money to fill that gap. The other one was to look at a fee.
City officials encourage all to attend future meetings to learn more. The first payment will be July 1st if this ultimately passes. In consumer news, the clock is now ticking to file your taxes. Jen Sullivan explains some changes that could mean a lower tax bill and a higher refund.
The deadline to file your 2025 taxes is quickly approaching.
I would just get it done as soon as possible.
Lisa Green-Lewis is a CPA and tax expert with TurboTax. Here's what she says you need to know. First, a higher standard deduction. That means more of your money is shielded from federal taxes. For single filers, it increases to $15,750, up from $15,000. For married couples filing jointly, it increases to $31,500, up from $30,000. Second, a higher state and local tax deduction, commonly known as SALT. It allows you to deduct your state and local income taxes or your state and local general sales taxes. That cap jumps to $40,000 from $10,000 for married couples filing together. You may also be able to deduct your property taxes as long as your income or sales taxes doesn't put you over that $40,000 cap.
In those high property tax states and state tax states, they'll be able to claim some more of those deductions.
Third, a larger tax credit for children. Parents can receive $2,200 per child. They must be under 17 at the end of the tax year, among other requirements. If you work in an industry where you get tips or overtime, there are some changes you need to know about. Eligible workers can deduct up to $25,000 in tipped income.
If you're a service worker, like a firefighter, police officer, you can deduct up to $12,500 in overtime.
Last year, the average refund was around $3,100, according to the IRS. With these new changes, some can expect an even higher refund.
We are expecting filers to see up to $1,000 increase in their refund or lower balance due.
Deadline to file your taxes is April 15th. For Consumer Watch, I'm Jen Sullivan.
Well, happening tomorrow, there'll be a special celebration for a service right here in the Coastal Empire that helps thousands of residents. 211 Day is a free confidential information and referral call line for people who have nowhere else to turn. It's provided by the United Way of the Coastal Empire. To mark that day, United Way is hosting a special event at Starland Yard in Savannah. Local artist Inky Brittany will unveil her latest piece, inspired by the real impact of 211, made possible through the City of Savannah's Weave a Dream program. The free community celebration runs from 5:30 to 7 tomorrow. And finally, here on WTOC Plus, we're taking a live look right now at Washington, D.C., where the mission is almost complete for the Buddhist monks who've traveled across the country to spread a message of peace and unity. This is a live feed. We just got into our newsroom. Let me see what the audio's like. Okay, I don't think we're hearing much right now. But again, this is a live look in Washington, D.C. We have covered the story for a number of months now. These Buddhist monks are just steps away from their destination, the U.S. Capitol. The group started their journey back in October, leaving from Fort Worth, Texas, making hundreds of stops along the way, including all over Middle Georgia and the state of Georgia and South Carolina. Yesterday, they walked through Alexandria, Virginia, less than 10 miles south of the Capitol building. The Walk for Peace is officially concluding today and tomorrow as these 19 Buddhist monks arrive at the state capitol in Washington, D.C. We're just going to hold it on this live shot for a moment because you can see some of them walking. Again, I don't believe we have any audio from this camera feed, but you can see these monks are getting a bicycle escort from quite a large number of police officers. There you go. I'm not sure where exactly this is in relation to the Capitol, but you can see just streets lined full of people, which is something we saw, during their events and walks here in Georgia and South Carolina as well. Many different communities really turned out to see these monks walk from Texas to Washington, D.C. over the course of several months at this point, many months. So really cool to see. Again, they are arriving at the Capitol this afternoon. The Walk for Peace will officially conclude tomorrow at the Lincoln Memorial in Washington, D.C., where, of course, we expect them to draw sizable crowds as well. Yeah, really big scene out there in the nation's capital. All right, we're going to hold on the shot for another moment or two. We will say that we'll be back at the top of the hour for our WTOC Plus update at 2 o'clock as well. And if the monks are still walking, we'll go ahead and take this feed as well, just to watch them finish their journey to the nation's capital. We'll have plenty more coverage on this and all the other stories you heard about coming up at the top of the hour at 2 o'clock here on WTOC and WTOC Plus. Would like to thank you all for joining us, and here's Local News Live.